New Jersey lifting its stay-at-home order. The state's governor, Phil Murphy, also announcing that he will raise the limit on outdoor and indoor gatherings. While many people are wondering if New York should just rip off the Band-Aid and fully reopen instead of doing these 2-week incremental openings that we've been doing lately. Mike Huckabee, former governor of Arkansas, is also a Fox News contributor, and he joins us now with his thoughts on this. Being in the great state of Florida, as you are, Florida took a completely different approach. And, you know, when people return from Florida right now, they say, wow, it's like normal life down there. Nobody's wearing a mask. They're in the restaurants. You're going about life. Looking at the stats from today, it seems like the number of patients who are hospitalized has doubled in the past month or so since the reopening. There we can see, well, those are new cases, but the hospitalization is the more relevant stat. Also, I noticed on a website, you're at about 26% of capacity open for hospital beds. How do you think Florida is doing so far?
Well, I think they've handled it differently, but I also think they've handled it better. Nothing is perfect because this is uncharted territory for everybody. But what the governor did, which was smart, was that he didn't try to say, let's throw a blanket over the whole state and make everybody do exactly the same. He recognized that highly populated urban areas, Orlando, Miami, would be very different than parts of Florida like the Panhandle, where I am, which is more sparsely populated. So he let a lot of decisions be made at the local level where people were being affected by those decisions. That was a smart thing. Now, the other side of that, a lot of people have piled into Florida. They've come from New York, they've come from New Jersey,
right,
where there has been a total lockdown, and some of them have brought coronavirus with them, and I think that's in part maybe what we're seeing with the increased numbers.
Interesting. Do you feel like in the end, Florida's going to be able to say they did it better? I mean, I know it's tough to predict the future, but you are seeing, at first it looked like the numbers weren't increasing, at all, but now lately they are going up, even though you got a lot of beds open.
I think there are a couple of things happening. One, this is the tourist season, so you have the population of the state virtually doubling.
True.
With people coming because it's summer break, and that's a part of it. The other part is we have a lot more testing than we did. So people that may have had the virus and didn't know it, now they get a symptom, they find out, they know it, and it gets reported. I'm not saying that's all there is, because I don't know where it goes. I will tell you, Melissa, I'm not a prophet or the son of a prophet, so I won't try to predict the future. But I do think in the long term, Florida's going to come out looking better than New York, New Jersey, Michigan, and some of the states where the governors and or mayors just totally shut everything down.
Yeah.
It's been bad enough here. I would hate to think how it would have been had it been as tough as it was in some of the other states.
So the flip side of that is a lot of people are wondering today, if you look on social media, as we see these enormous protests going on, and you just see this swell of humanity, whether it's in LA or it's in New York or it's in Minneapolis, all kinds of people really close together. And if we don't end up seeing the virus spike in those areas, will we be asking ourselves, did we shut the whole thing down? Was it worth it? I mean, should we have really done that if you see Florida, as we said, opening, and yeah, cases are increasing, but they're increasing everywhere pretty much, except for the places where it's moved on, and you're not seeing a spike. If we don't see that spike amongst the protesters, how do we evaluate that?
I think there are going to be a lot of academic studies post-virus to try to figure out, was this the right thing to do, to be as strict? Some will say yes. Others will say, look, we did more damage to people and their mental health than we did to their physical health. And Melissa, just this thought is that with all of the things that have been done, one thing we've learned, we said there wasn't a cure, there wasn't a vaccine. We seem to have found one. Protesting, rioting, looting. That seems to cure the virus, because the same officials that shut down churches said that it was okay to hit the streets without masks and be shoulder to shoulder with tens of thousands of total strangers. So I guess we could say, praise the Lord, we found a cure.
You know, I mean, I always think that's the thing that unites the people who watch Fox and Fox Business. It's not that they're necessarily right or left. It's that altogether we really hate hypocrites. And we really get outraged by people, you know, who are sanctimonious on one hand, but then they just go ahead and violate that. One thing I think when I look at all these pictures is I remember when we weren't allowed to go outside because they said, well, you may be willing to risk your life, but when you go out and you mix in a crowd, you're risking the lives of the first responders who will have to save you. So as I look at some of these photos, I wonder who gets to decide when the cause is worthy enough, because I had very famous people tweet back at me, you know, that the civil rights, it's worth risking your life. Well, who gets to decide when it's worth risking the lives of our first responders and of our hospital workers? Because we're mixing the virus in a crowd, but it was worth it, some are saying. Who gets to decide that?
Well, apparently some of the government officials thought they were, but I've said all along that if you want to see how serious they are, make this rule, that if you're a public official and you shut down other people's jobs and incomes, then you don't get to take a government paycheck as a government official until their jobs start up and they get their paycheck again. When you do that, I promise you, Melissa, there will be some very different decisions being made by government officials, because the one group of people that got paid every week, without exception, were the government people who made the decisions to shut everybody else down.
Yeah. Well, I'll just end by saying that in New York, you can protest, but you can't get a haircut right now. So there you go. Mike Huckabee, thank you. Connell.